Okay, Bruchim Habayim. Welcome everyone. By way of beginning, it's important to know where you are, where you're currently located. I heard many people, do you know what country you're in? That's the first question. What country are you in? Many people think they're in Panama. No. There's actually no place in the world called Panama. It's a milra. It's Panama. Okay, that's the first thing. And it's like Panama. It still has a little bit of a B sound in it. Now I want to tell you about good things happen when you come to Panama. Last time I was here, I came in for a wedding and they put me down the block in the Hilton. And I go into the elevator and I'm about to press the button and all of a sudden 2 Mossad Secret Service agents rush the elevator. They're looking around, they're looking in the ceiling, they're looking under. I don't know what's going on. Who's about to walk into the elevator? I thought Netanyahu was about to walk into the elevator. Sure enough, into the elevator, Rav Yitzchak Yosef, chief rabbi. He walks in, and he walks straight into the corner, and he buries his head in the corner. And if you know that hotel, for good reason, he buried his head in the corner. And I got a bracha from him. I even said that I got a haskama from him for one of the svarim. So I reminded him. He gave me a bracha. And the gentleman who was pressing the buttons of the elevator, black gentleman, turned to me and he asked me if I'm part of the entourage of the chief rabbi. I said, what could I do for you? He said, I need a blessing from the chief rabbi. I said, why do you need a blessing from the chief rabbi? He said, because when he came 12 years ago, he gave me a blessing. I went out, I immediately bought a lottery ticket, and I won the lottery. So I said, yeah, I'm going to get you another blessing. And I got a blessing. And I went out and I bought a lottery ticket. And I didn't win yet. But you never know who you could meet in the elevator in Panama. So just a very brief thought about the purpose of taking time off, what we call vacation. Does it have a role in machshava? Does it have a role in Jewish thought? We know that in Parshas Vayechi has a very interesting phenomenon. Parshas Vayechi is what we call the Parsha Susuma. It's a closed parsha. There's no opening at all between the end of Vayigash and the beginning of Vayechi. Actually, on one of our trips, first we want to give a big yashikayach to Rabbi Nassan and Shane D. Weldler for their very hard work putting together this beautiful trip. And on one of our trips, it happened to be Parshas Vayechi, and we had with us a tiny Sefer Torah. It's such a small Sefer Torah, you literally need a magnifying glass to read the words. And we made sure to appoint Rav Nassan to be the Baal Koreh. And it's such small words, you can't even tell the difference between the end of Vayigash and the beginning of Vayechi. That's how Susuma it is. So we know the Parshas Vayechi is a Parshas Susuma. Why is it a Parshas Susuma? Says Rashi, that since Kallah Yisrael was in Galus, Kivan Sheniftar Yaakov Avinu, when Yaakov Avinu passed away, Nistamu Einayim V'Liban Shel Yisrael Mitzaras Hashibad. The eyes and the heart of the Jewish people were closed shut because of the tzara of the bondage. So we tend to think what this means is they tortured us, they brutalized us, we had no expansiveness, we had no openness of mind. But the Sfas Emes explains as follows. What does it mean a Parsha Susuma? You know, in life, people do a lot of good things. People learn, they daven, they do chesed. But the thing is, if you're always learning and you're always doing chesed and you're up to the next mitzvah, then you can never even process what you're doing. I'll give you a little example. Some people, when they listen to Shiurim, they put it on double speed. Are you familiar with this phenomenon? You know why they put it on double speed? Because they're not listening to the shiur. They're not actually listening to that. Now, let me explain. If you listen to a shiur for information, then you could listen to it on double speed. But if you want it to have an impact on you, you have to listen to it the way it's given. And the reason is as follows. There's a rule in public speaking. The most important element of speech is the pause. The most important Element of speech is opposed, because if you just talk like this, like this, like this, there are a lot of rabbis that are brilliant and they talk and they talk and they talk, and people are amazed and they're bewildered and they come out of the shit. That was unbelievable. What did he speak about? I have no idea. You cannot process information without pause. The impact of learning is if you could think about it. But if you just hear it, it does not actually enter your heart. It enters your mind, but it doesn't enter your heart. The problem was that in Mitzrayim, we were so brutalized that we didn't have an opportunity to stop and to think and to be mispoinen. We know that Rashi says in the beginning of Vayikra, why are there parshiyos stumais and psuches in the Torah? Kedei litein revach lehisboinen bein parsha leparsha. You see, the pauses in the Torah give us the opportunity to process the information. But if you don't have a pause, you can't process the information. The pause is part of the shir. Sometimes not learning is learning. It depends how. Bitula, hi kiyuma. If it's done to think about and to plot your course and to process what you're doing when you're actually learning. So it's very interesting. So if Parshas Vayechi, it's a Parshas Sestuma, because there's no time to think about and to be misbainim bein parsha leparsha. Probably at the time of the Geula, they're big spaces. So could you imagine at the Shiras Hayam, there are probably big spaces at the Shiras Hayam. And sure enough, says the Sfas Emes, did you ever wonder why by Shiras Hayam you have big empty spaces, middle line, and then end line, and then middle line, and then end line? Ariach agabe levena, agabe ariach agabe levena. Because Geula is pause. The Geula is expansiveness, empty spaces. That's the Geula. The Golus is continuous, continuous, continuous. The Geula is Revach lehisboinen bein parsha leparsha, says the Sfas Emes. I would just perhaps add, maybe this is what the Sfas Emes means, that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the Torah to Kallah Yisrael, Naseres HaDibros, each Dibra is a dibor b'fnei atzmai, and then it's a parsha by itself. So after loy sirtzach, you have a major space. After loy sinaf, you have a major space. After each dibra is a mimer by itself. And therefore the first parsha after Kabbalas HaTorah, this week's parsha, Parshas Mishpatim, you probably have more parshios and spaces in the Torah than any other parsha in the Torah. Because that's the liberation from Mitzrayim. The liberation is the opportunity to reflect bein parsha leparsha. So I'll just give you two quick examples. I want to read to you an article. As far as I know, this is the only article ever written by Harav Avigdor Miller, Zechet Tzaddik Livracha. It's an article he wrote in a book called Lithuania, the World That Was. This article is written by Rav Miller describing his Rebbe in Slobodka. Okay, you ready for this? He said in Slobodka there were 3.5 shmuzin, 3 Musar lectures held each week. 2 were given by Rav Isaac Sher, the Rosh Yeshiva, and the Yeshiva itself. It was mandatory for all students to attend. The 3rd was given in the home of Rav Avram Grzinski, the Mashgiach. By the way, in Slobodka, this was instead of Kabbalah Shabbos. Slobodka, they did not daven Kabbalah Shabbos. It doesn't say Kabbalah Shabbos in the Shulchan Aruch. It's not in Shas. They didn't do anything in Slobodka that doesn't have a source in Shas. Okay. The shmuz was said in the style of the Alter of Slobodka. Rav Isaac Sher would say 3 words and then pause. And then 3 more words and pause. This is how the entire shmuz was conducted. If you weren't accustomed to the style, it was hard to stay awake. But once you got used to it, you had time to think in between. That was the style of the shmuz. 3 words, pause. 3 words, pause. I don't know if that would have been a popular style today, but it was an effective style. It produced all the Gedolei Olam of the last generation. Okay, I'll end with this. Rav Moshe Shapiro, Hagon Rav Moshe Shapiro, one of the great Bali Machshav of the last generation. He would give a shir, he would say over the information 1 inyan, and then he would pause And then he would continue. And he would say as follows. Hahafsakois ha'elu bein mishpat lemishpat gam hein chelek mehashir. The pause between ideas, it's part of the shir. So if you take time off, and the purpose is to revach lehisboinen bein parsha leparsha, then it's not a hafsaka. It's part of the avodas Hashem. So that's a perspective to have on Yarchei Kallah 2025. Thank you very much. Mariv, very soon. Shkayach.